I love South Georgia and the plains of South Georgia and Southwest Georgia. And I just love the fact that we have so many different cultures here in the state, and that you could go from one climate to the next and meet all different types of people in the middle. I've been in the Georgia House of Representatives now since first being elected in 2016. I've served in various leadership capacities, including House Democratic Whip for 2 years, which is second ranking Democrat. The Georgia Labor Commission race is very important because during the pandemic, we saw family members, friends, neighbors, church members lose their job to no fault at all. And this labor commissioner did not respond to those unemployment insurance claims in a timely manner.
The Commissioner of Labor is responsible for administering unemployment benefits. Thousands of Georgians laid off during the COVID pandemic waited weeks and in some cases months to receive their first unemployment check. That was because the Department of Labor was short-staffed and unprepared. What is your plan to ensure the Georgia Department of Labor is adequately staffed and prepared for future economic downturns?
And a lot of Georgia citizens were hurt by that. And so as the next labor commissioner, I'm going to respond to all claims very quickly and very promptly. Also, I'm going to respond to any appeal within 30 days, which is a national standard. If you know you can move up and you know you can make a living wage, that way we can keep great quality employees, skilled trained employees with the Department of Labor and keep them happy. Because if people are happy and they love where they work, they're going to do a good job, a great job for the citizens of the state of Georgia and represent the Georgia Department of Labor. And they can have a quality of life and take care of their family and themselves, and also have affordable health care and benefits.
We've seen a wave of labor organizing. We've also continued to see misclassification of workers. What will you do as a Commissioner of Labor to protect workers, and how have you demonstrated this commitment to workers in the past?
If you are a W-2 employee, you can actually organize. But more importantly, if you lose your job to no fault of your own, you can get unemployment benefits. But if you are a 1099 independent contractor, you cannot. So I want to make sure I work with the U.S. Department of Labor and that wage and hourly division to make sure that we are investigating any misclassification practices. That way, anyone that has 100 employees or more can be fined up to $7,500 for each case that they have misclassified an employee. And so this legislation is one that I worked on with some of my House members. I'm the only male that was on the bill. I was happy to be on the bill with Representative Park County, Representative Kim Alexander, and other women in my caucus that are leading this initiative. And I will make sure that I work with the Georgia General Assembly to get that done. I have relationships in the Georgia General Assembly. I passed over 22 bills myself as a Democrat in the Georgia House of Representatives. I know how to get money in the budget. So basically, I know my way around the Gold Dome. So this bill is going to be a start. But this bill is not going to be the end, because once we get this legislation passed, then we're going to get a bill done for the private sector as well.
Georgia has no state law that specifically prohibits private employers from discriminating on the basis of pregnancy in their employment practices. How would you make sure pregnant workers are protected in the workplace?
This is for workers that are expecting, to make sure they can have lactation breaks, to make sure they have rest breaks, to make sure that if they need to have desk duty because they might be having issues within their pregnancy, they get that. And it's a great piece of legislation because also it gives a civil cause of action to the pregnant worker against their employer if the employee does not give reasonable accommodations. It's a piece of legislation that I feel very passionate about because I believe all workers should be protected in the workplace, and any worker that needs accommodations should be given those accommodations to help them keep the employment so they don't have to be laid off from work, but they can continue to work until they want to go on maternity leave, rest leave, or whatever they decide to do. That work should have the options.
The law also does not prohibit discrimination based on sexual orientation or gender identity. What is your plan to protect those workers?
So right now, that's a great question. I'm working on a piece of legislation, HB 1390. Now, what this legislation does is it gives a legal cause of action for any worker that works with a city or county to have a cause of action, any act of worker harassment or sexual harassment, and that worker will have a cause of action if their employer retaliates against them for a complaint. Now, this bill has passed the House and it's in the Senate now. We look to see it pass. I'm one of the top signers on the bill. It's a bipartisan bill, 3 Democrats, 3 Republicans. Now, that's the start. If we get this bill passed, I want to pass a similar bill for the private sector. As the Department of Labor Commissioner, I look to protect everyone in the workplace, no matter what, against any harassment whatsoever.